This is the Simpit. I'm your host, Shaun Cole, but the real star of today's show are Ameer Assad and Devin Booth. Hello, Ameer. Hello, Devin. How are you guys?
Good. How are you?
I am doing really good. Devin, you? How are you?
Hi.
Yeah,
Hello.
everyone's holding up? All right. Happy second Saturday of the month, and therefore it is 3 wide. That's why there are 3 of us knuckleheads here to talk today. And we have picked a doozy of a topic. I don't know if we can fill a full hour on this, but I have a hunch we might when people start giving us questions and comments. You cheater. You're a cheater. Do you cheat? Do you cheat?
No, it's that guy.
Have you heard of cheating in gaming or in sim racing? Have you heard of such
Never.
a thing? No?
Never.
Cheater one day.
I've been doing this a long time, and I got to tell you, cheating has been a big part of sim racing.
No.
It happens.
I don't believe that.
It happens, and it has
Prove
a.
it.
And I prove it. Okay, I'm gonna have to bring testimonials. It comes in a lot of different shapes and flavors. If you really, the word cheat is an interesting word because we could spend an hour perhaps just defining cheating, and then how it applies to sim racing. Have you guys ever witnessed anything that you would consider cheating in sim racing? I mean, as we say, it exists. Have you ever seen it firsthand?
Firsthand, no, I don't think so. Not yet.
Secondhand?
Well,
I
we have a couple names to mention.
No, we're not dropping names. We're not going to name any names here today. All right, I'm going to throw out an ugly word that we toss around lightly. I hear it used jokingly in our league even. Grip hack. Do you guys know of a grip hack?
I supposedly use it all the time.
What? You've heard of such a thing?
That exists.
Yeah.
I supposedly use it all the time from what I've heard.
Is that right? You've been accused. Jokingly or seriously? Has anyone ever pointed a finger?
No.
All right, so grip hack gives one example, and I think we'll come back to many examples. So the topic that we're laying out, and I put it to, I'm going to put it to the audience first, because I want to know, when it comes to cheating, I want you guys to hit me hard. I want you to tell me what you consider cheating. What are ways that you can cheat in sim racing specifically? Now, before I even get to that, Ameer, what are your thoughts on the concept of people cheating across the board? I mean, in sport and game. I mean, do you have a philosophy on cheating, a personal moral code?
For me, I don't know. For me, like, how I define cheating, it's when you take the code or manipulate it illegally, which goes against what the game is intended for. That's how I kind of define cheating from my perspective.
So the grip hack, as our example for right now, we might get to many more, that is a blatant cheat because that's a coding, that's a inner working, has nothing to do with the sim itself. Devin,
Right.
would you ever cheat, Ameer? Honor system.
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Have you ever cheated?
I'm playing a bit Nintendo games. I think that's probably the last time I did that stuff.
So you're owning that you have cheated before in life, but
Yeah,
that
when
you
you bought the Game Genie back, everybody bought the Game Genie back in the day.
If you didn't put a rock in a snowball and throw it at a kid to win the snowball fight, you probably didn't have a childhood.
Have you ever stolen $100 from the bank in Monopoly? That's thievery. That's a whole different level of cheating when you talk money.
Stealing.
Now we're talking money.
You don't mess with.
Do you have a moral code when it comes to cheating, Devin?
Yep.
What is it?
Yeah. I mean,
he was quick to answer that one.
I was accused of cheating once. I was accused of having hacks that fixed my car. They're like, iRacing, sometimes if you're a third-party watcher, you'll get like a fake wall rub where you don't actually touch the wall. The damage will show up for the watcher, but then it'll fix when the server resyncs. Somebody saw that, clipped it, sent it to me, and said that I was cheating once during a Bathurst race. But yeah, no, cheating is ridiculous. I have a bit of a point though to make as we're talking about it between cheating and exploits, because as you asked in chat, Joa mentioned that he has seen them actually, has seen it firsthand.
Okay.
And Tony mentions taking an X for speed. Taking an X for speed is more of an exploit. Grip flicks are more of an exploit. Grip hacks, other kind of actual speed hacks, that kind of thing is more cheating. Cheating, I'm 100% against. Exploits, it really depends on the scenario.
Okay, so the taking an X for speed, yeah. Exploits, and this is why I say it comes in a lot of different shapes and flavors. You have coding, cheating, things that have nothing to do with being in the game, within the game, and playing the game. You have exploits, which we're going to get to in a moment. And I consider the taking an X not an exploit the same way as what I would define exploits. Because for me, exploits gets to a different argument that I've heard over the years, which is unreal. I'm just going to call it unrealistic setups. Where you're willing to sit there and drop everything you can adjust to the game to every parameter possible to find those loony combinations that defy conventional wisdom when it comes to car setup. So no one would have ever thought of taking out the springs on a car that was bottoming out on the nose. I'm not saying that exists. I'm just using it as an extreme example. If you had a car that was slamming the nose on the ground, you would never think, hey, remove the springs, that's the way. Yet we do find those happening. So to me, an exploit, for me, at least in the sake of this conversation to keep it clean, exploits would be things you can do from within the game, i.e. setup changes, things you can do to the car. And that extends maybe we take it from what's in the garage versus what's on track. And then on track, there's some other shenanigans. Taking an X for speed is an example, and I can think of a few others as well. All right. What about, in real life racing, cheating is a very loosely worded, used word. A lot of what we're doing is purposeful cheating. Cheating with purpose, right? It's hard to argue against any hack, right? I guess as a lifelong gamer, I have sort of a zero tolerance policy when it comes to actual hacks. Why is it so easy to still be done? I don't even know why they can't just say you can't do this. I don't get it.
It's just security. Security is just like that, and it's going to be that way in the gaming world probably forever. I don't see security in gaming in particular ever becoming tight enough to where people can't deconstruct the code and figure out how to alter it.
Why do people do it? That's the thing. So the first question I gave you guys was, do you have a moral code that says I would never do such a fucking thing? Excuse me.
It wasn't me this time. I didn't drop the first F-bomb.
Sorry, YouTube. We apologize.
But I wouldn't do such a effing thing. That's how emotional it is for me, right? Just the thought of doing it raises my anger level.
Yeah.
So, why do people do it? What is it about human beings that says I would rather cheat to win than just win?
There are two or three main factors that are really they're brought up really quite frequently because of competitive gaming, right? You have money, and then going with money is winning, right? Those two kind of fall into the same kind of thing. There are people that will go to any length to win. They do not care. They will go as far as they can. But there's also the challenge. When I was younger, we talked about this on one of the live streams, but we kind of wanted to wait for 3 wide, so I wanted to mention it. When I was younger, I played a lot of StarCraft. This is 2000, 2002 kind of area, right? And part of cheating in that game online was to do it and see if you could do it without getting caught, right? Was to try to do it in sneaky ways and kind of find ways to get around it. And part of it was fun, right? It wasn't necessarily about winning the game. It was about fun. And half the time you ended up with 4 cheaters playing against each other, and it was just a mess of people trying to cheat each other. So there are times and there are applications that people do it. In specifically strictly competitive senses, I think it's completely disgusting. But to do it, like I say, there are certain times, like the option number 2, for fun or for experience, to figure things out, to learn, that kind of thing. There are merit for it.
Are there any accidental cheats on that level? That you didn't know it, but your system or your internet? Or is all of it with intention? Is there any way to misdiagnose such a thing from the server or from the gaming, side of things?
The only thing I can think of, like, I don't see it. I don't see it in sim racing so much, but when first-person shooters, when somebody hosts their own, because when they do host-based, PvP, like, just it could be that the person that's hosting that server at that time, his internet's really shitty, so everybody's connected to that server. It's going to have a really high ping rate. So the guy that's hosting the server, he's going to have way better reaction time and to take out everybody else. It could be just completely out of innocence. The guy has a really bad internet connection. It could be just the guy actually slowing it down on purpose too.
That's
but I've been in kind of those games where, like, somebody's hosting it, in the middle of nowhere, and he just ran around killing everybody because he's got the best connection.
No, we kind of see that in warping. You kind of don't know what happens at some times. And at other times, I swear I've thought that the warp actually worked to the advantage of the guy who was blinking out somehow, some way, in contact or something. And I don't have any actual proof of such a thing. But that has crossed my mind. Like, wow, that guy's warping and he's getting the perks of it. What is up with that, Yeah. But I can't point a finger to say that it's him, because I think it is more likely just internet weird random luck. To an extent.
You brought up a point there. That's the only way I could think of it. Ameer was talking about the lagging with the gaming, but with the iRacing in particular, there's a video up on YouTube where I was passing a guy in Mazdas. He was flashing, and I waited till he disappeared, drove to where I knew his car was. When he came back, we were inside of each other. He freaked out and crashed. Right? If somebody knows they're teleporting, they can definitely use that to their advantage. If they see all the cars disappear, they just drive like no one's there. When they appear, they're inside cars in the middle of a pack.
Right.
Yeah.
I honestly, when I blink, I don't even know what to do. Like, I don't know what the right thing is, right? I'm like, should I stay where I am? But then I might get that scenario. Should I pull over? But then, that's crazy too.
So in iRacing, it's good to just, while we're on the topic, to point it out. In iRacing in particular, the way that their netcode works, when you blink like that, when you come back, you will not make contact with any cars you're inside of until you separate. So you do just want to drive normally, unless you're blinking all the time. If you're blinking all the time, get off track, be considerate. But if it's the odd now and again, then yes, you just drive your line like normal and just try to remain consistent. So you either stay where you are or minimally affect the drivers around you when you come back.
All right, totally off topic, but I got to go down this rabbit hole. When you're the guy who's blinking and everyone's yelling at you, when are you supposed to get out of the way? When are you supposed to pull it in? When are you supposed to call it a day? And is it bordering on... cheating isn't the word, but it's got some other kind of...
On the grid.
Impact.
If you're sitting on the grid, you're flashing. Get out. It's scary. I don't like it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I want to talk about garage specific. So all of us are in the same. I don't hear anybody putting up any... I mean, for the most part, if you're cheating, you're cheating. You know it. It isn't a gray area. Yeah. Yes, lag happens, and whether you're talking mysterious headshots or contact in sim, it happens, but it's not... Well, number one, it's usually not repetitive like that you'd be like, that guy's doing this, right? Because it was like one event, one time, not like every time. All right, let's talk about exploits. Actually, one more thing on cheating. As we talk and point fingers, but yet, in real-life racing, Formula 1 even, these teams often are caught deliberately breaking the rule book. Like, it's clearly stated in the rule book, you shall not do this.
No, this is why I initially wanted to separate cheating and exploiting, was because of F1. Right. F1 and the entire original F1, now it's kind of different. It's with Mercedes and their push-pull crap. They're getting a little bit back into the old days. But the way that they did something, they're essentially based on exploits. That's essentially what F1 is. Like, they give you a set of rules and
Innovation.
You push
Innovation is exploits.
Good. Yeah, so it's basically banned on exploits, not necessarily cheating, because they ban the exploit after it happened. Right. If they continued, then it would be cheating, right?
And that's the thing in sports. Like, I mean, if you're not riding that very tail end of the gray line, you're not going to win. Like, name me one team that completely followed all the rules 100% of the time and actually won something. Like they're always going to push the boundary as far as they can to be in that gray zone, not touching the bad zone, and to get that advantage over the other teams. And then if FIA comes in afterwards, like, oh, Mercedes, sorry, you can't use the DAS anymore. It's too cool of a system to use, and nobody else can replicate it, so we're banning it.
But there are cases where they are hit because it wasn't innovation;
Right.
it was
Happened
downright
to Ferrari.
cheating.
Happened to Ferrari last year. That's why they're horrible this year with their engine.
So it happens at the highest level as we point fingers. Now, I saw someone. So my opinion on this, I don't know if I stated it or if it's clear, and I think I've said it at various points. I am so adamant when it comes to my thoughts on cheating. When you are knowingly defying rules, and to me, we could talk hacks, we could talk any defiance of the. If you are knowingly, purposely defying rules, you are cheating, and if you're a cheater, you're a loser. No, I'm sorry, but no, I just have no appetite for such a thing. Okay, now when we get into the garage in our sims, there's, where do you draw the line on what is considered cheating? I mean, if they let you set it, I mean, how is it a cheat? I mean, and people call it a cheat, but how is it a cheat if it's a setting they let me do?
So I don't consider it cheat. You're using advantage of the parameters that are available to you.
I mean, if they let you put 100% grill tape on the car and the engine doesn't blow up, isn't it phooey on you if you ran 95 or less, right? I mean, you didn't optimize.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's just the deficit of the game itself. I don't think it's like cheating if you're using the parameters and settings that the game provides you to get an advantage. I say, I mean, good on you. Like, I don't know how to do it, but good on you guys for doing it and finding it out.
Now, that's an area where a super team, a team with 10, 20, 30 drivers, has a huge advantage over independents, when it comes to testing those boundaries of parameters. All right, well, now, what about on track? So let's talk about the X's. There is the infamous Spa race with no incident limit accident by iRacing way back when. Again, how is that any different if I rack up 1,000 incidents and the game and the referee, so to speak, doesn't penalize me? Is that cheating when everyone damn well knows what the boundaries of a track are?
This is something that kind of come up in chat a bit too. You've got, Joe is saying that exploits are not cheating. They're two completely different topics. You've got, I think Tony was the one who mentioned that taking an X is cheating, right? It's all going to be up to the person. So at that point, like when you hit a situation like the Spa race, for example, you got people taking 4,000 or 5,000 X's by the time that race was over in a 24-hour span. And the people that didn't take them, I mean, good on you. I have respect for you, right? But at the same time, the rules were put out as the rules were put out, and you're not going to win like that.
No, you're not. Now, that one was a really interesting day because although during the race it was not giving you any penalty whatsoever, post-race there were. Because everybody who did that, their safety rating went from 5.0 to 1.3. And they dropped licenses, and it was very obvious that it was against the rules. That's what's really interesting about that one is like, well, no, you were clearly breaking the rules. In fact, you did something that I've never seen anyone lose those kind of points on a safety rating in one event, no matter how long.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joe put out a good comment to that aspect. Put it this way, in real life racing, or in this case, we could kind of apply it to iRacing. If you get caught and you get fined or points are taken away, it's cheating. If they just change the rules, it's an exploit. So in the Spa case, right, both things happened. They changed the rules, so it was an obvious exploit, but it did result in license loss, so technically a cheat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think that's very, very well stated.
No, Joe put it well.
Okay, but there are other cheats in racing, in my opinion. What about when it comes to actually being on the track against somebody.
The grip flick.
What's that?
The grip flick.
Grip flick.
That's
Yeah.
the biggest
flick.
one ever, and most people use it.
This goes back several builds if you're using iRacing specifically, but what about, it used to be that you'd go out on your out lap for qualifying, and you do literally 15 miles an hour, like 20, and you're heating your tires. But the game loved cold tires so much back then that if you went 15 and then came out of the final corner like a bat out of hell, you would set a lap that was just unachievable to duplicate. Cheat? Exploit?
That's an I'd say that's an exploit because it's within the parameters of the game.
It's 100% an exploit. And even if we go by the way that we define that using Joe's example, that's an exploit because they changed the rules. But now they change the rules and penalties even if you do that.
And I dare say you would see exactly the same thing out of a Formula One team if it was to their advantage it could be done. They would crawl. They would go at 8 miles an hour if the law allowed them to, and they could benefit somehow from doing it. Now they're a little bit the opposite. They're using tire warmers, so it's more of a mad dash to get back to the green flag. All right. What about when it comes to contact? What about it? What about blocking? Is blocking cheating?
Well, I mean, yes, depending on what you're talking about. Are you talking about illegal blocking, or are you just talking about blocking in the broader sense, right? There's two different kinds of blocks. There's moving your lane once and responsibly holding your line in a dominant position, which is perfectly fine. And then there's wiggling all over the damn track, which is, yes, cheating, and you will get in trouble for it.
So, would you? So, I mean, and I mean, if you're just swerving, sure. But what if, I mean, so in iRacing, in real life, for the most part, sanctioning bodies allow you a move, right?
Right.
And for the most part, a second move is frowned upon.
Mm-hmm.
But I even say frowned upon because I think that rule is... There is a lot of gray area with every sanctioning body when it comes to that. Because what about a half move? What about a move and a half? You know?
Yeah. I think the majority of them, though, like, as long as you leave... enough you leave one car space to the side, and you're not moving under braking. That's the big ones. You're not moving the car willy-nilly through braking. You're fine. But once you get into that realm of blocking people under braking, that's where it's
in iRacing specific, it's one move, right? So you come out of the corner, you're on the left. If you want to go to the right, go ahead, but you don't come back to the left. As soon as you come back to the left, that's a repeatable offense.
And if someone files a protest, Nim Cross is going to give me a warning for a second move?
Nimmer his team, yeah.
For sure? We know this? I've never been involved in this. I
have. If you're on a track like Le Mans, and it's a slow left-right, it's not, the guy's not jerking ahead of you, he's trying to break draft, or, you know, like, that's the kind of scenario, no one's going to give you trouble. But when it's obvious blocking, you're on a guy's tail, he's moved to the right to stop you from passing to the right, you've tried to juke him, so you're right-lefting, and he comes back to the left again and causes an accident, yes, he will get penalized.
Yeah.
Now,
it's not a ban, it might be an education, but he will get some.
Now, would that fall under cheating, or is any rule violation considered cheating then, or is that just that's a driver discipline thing? It's not cheating.
We're talking about many different kinds, right? Like, we're talking about cheating via hardware. We're talking about cheating via breaking the rules, which is cheating. It's just a different form, and then we're talking about exploits at the same.
Okay.
Okay.
Before it gets up, I wanted to say something from the chat before it disappears here. John Herring asked a question. He asked in NR 2003, which is now the 2020 kind of Papyrus morphed into iRacing game. I'm paraphrasing. But he's talking about modifying the game and how people say that's cheating. I think the thing there, John, would be if people are modifying it and they're modifying it for their benefit. So if you guys are playing on a big server and somebody's modified their source code and that's making their game easier for you or for them versus you, then they're cheating. But if you guys are all on the same platform and it's all modified in the same way, I don't think that would be cheating in any way, shape, or form. That's just modding a game, just like a Assetto Corsa. You put a drift car. Just because I'm using a drift car doesn't mean I'm cheating.
If no one else is involved, is it still cheating? What about Wreckfest? Phil gave me his career file.
There's no rules when it comes to Wreckfest. You just take out Shaun and worry about the rest.
Well, you're only cheating yourself to getting at it. If you're stealing the career mode from yourself, you're only stealing from yourself. I don't think that's really a cheat. Well, that was my fear of this topic, was that it's sort of a... What I'd love to hear is somebody who does actively cheat. And I would love to get into the mindset of how they go about it. Like Devin said, cloak and dagger. I mean, I can tell you, if I was gonna be a cheat, I'm not gonna, but I'm not gonna be a cheat, but it would be about cloak and dagger. I mean, the beauty of the art of cheating would be to not get caught, and the way you not get caught is by, using it at the right time in the right way and not making it obvious. Go ahead. Yeah, I heard you.
Again, there is, and just using the StarCraft thing, but that would be the one I would lean on for the most part for the why. When people are cheating, not in the case of the professional thing, because we're all, I think, on the same page. If you're cheating in the professional level, like the F1 drivers, the high-level esports, those guys are doing it because there's money on the line, they're trying to win. The regular people, and I know we're not trying to throw names around, but because last month there was the guy in the news, Callum, when he responded, the guy that was in the news last month, actually he had said in his response that part of it is to try to push the boundaries. Part of it is to just try to do it. Right. And it's just one of those things is that there will always be people that try to. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring that up again is because we're also trying to talk about how to kind of stop them and how to, you had asked, how do you get ahead of it? That's how you get ahead of it. You need to get people like Callum Cross, people that are willing to do it on their own for fun, to work for you. Right. To do it for fun for real. You
know who the security specialists and analysts of today are? They're the hackers of yesterday, right? That's how you get a job in that industry, is by being a big hacker, and they're like, hey, we need this guy. And it's, sure, because they're smarter than the people in the industry. Obviously, they broke their systems.
Yeah, essentially you want a professional cheater.
Because we had Callum, but it's well known in the sim world. I mean, a lot of these software hackers hit up the top teams. They hit up people that are kind of known in sim racing worlds, like, hey, I'll sell you my grip hacks cheat, or to get at that better edge. And because this is just one of the rumors, but supposedly that's why the Porsche Esport Cup that was supposed to happen, I think back in June or July, was postponed for a while because there was something going on in the Porsche cars until iRacing could figure it out. But iRacing is not going to advertise that because they don't want people going crazy trying to figure out what it is. They want to get ahead of it behind the scenes and stop it before it becomes widespread.
Right. Okay, I got one more for you. What if I told you that I knew of an ABS brake pedal? So we have force feedback, right? There's nothing that says that your force feedback can't send a signal to a brake pedal, just like it can a steering wheel.
Like, you're talking putting in a physical thing that makes the brake pedal actually go in and out as an ABS system?
Yes.
Oh, you're...
Isn't that a dick thing to say? Isn't that a dick? But I know of it. I know of it. Not used it, but I do know of it.
If you were to use that in the Porsche Cup series, that would be cheating.
It is a hardware piece that, instead of giving you force feedback, changes the pedal pressure to create perfect ABS. Is it a cheat?
I would say if it's something that's not a feature in that car, I'd probably say yeah.
Okay.
But then you could say the same thing. Like, I mean, you and me both have Ricmotech pedals. But with the ECU, you can flick different settings for your throttle pedal. You can have a linear throw. You can have a butterfly throw. You can make your own customized one. I don't know. Is that considered cheating too?
I don't know.
So this would be a good point. Right now, I would say originally you got me with that, dude. I had to think about it. I want to cuss a lot right now, and I'm not. And you guys need. Right. So if you break this down for a second, and we apply it to, again, the well-known esports series. So I'm going to use like MOBAs. So this is like Dota, League of Legends, if you guys are familiar with that. I'm going to use those as the example right now because they flushed this out. So they have a restricted layout for the keyboard at the professional level. You cannot map the keys exactly how you want to. You have zones of which you can map certain keys to. I think some of them are even specific. They have to be this key. So with that said, you apply that to racing. Right now, I think that ABS brake pedal, I think your Ricmotech being able to adjust the throttle pedal, that's an exploit. But if you go to run in a professional esports series and they put it in the rules that you can't use that, it becomes a cheat. So that is a gray area, the grayest of areas.
Well, and as of now, they all control the hardware on the in-person. You can't bring your own rig.
Yeah.
Okay, so getting back to the pedal, because I'm still stumped, by the way, as to whether I think that's cheating or not. Let me rephrase it. I actually think that's cheating. It's a hardware manipulation, no different than if you could make a software hack. You're just doing it externally instead of changing the code of the game, but you're effectively accomplishing the same goal. So it's getting into a gray area that any rule book, I think, would be very quick to call foul. And be like, no, that is not the intention. But now I have to go one step further. I have what I believe is the greatest steering wheel in the world. Well, I'm going to tell you why. I have more layers of effect that I can tune in my wheel. Now, I still have to physically do the ABSing. Or even, let me point this out. So instead of making it change the parameter, because I'll say that I thought that ABS thing was a cheat. But what if instead of it changing the reading, it had a really good vibration mechanism to tell you the brakes were locked up, like some ABS systems do, so that you would manipulate your foot. Is that okay, or is that still pushing it?
That's force feedback. That's different. That's not a physical device changing your input in the game. That's like an audible or a tactile notification of what's happening with the car. You get those in real world. That's replication of real world forces. Anything that physically modifies what the car's doing and how the car's responding, that's the line. So you're braking your gas pedal for sure.
All right. But I would dare say that I do feel like, to an extent, the wheel advantage. I mean, this is where it's really a shame that even at the Logitech level, they haven't blown up force feedback like they have for Emotion Sim. I mean, that's the whole difference. SimXperience looks at the wheel as being the same parameters as Emotion Sim, versus other steering wheels simplify it to just a few effects. And that's why I'm such a huge fan of this wheel, and why I'm like, at times, like, I sarcastically in my head sometimes think, God, this wheel is almost cheating. But I'm not sure that it is, because like you said, there's a difference it's the direction and communication is the difference. Force feedback is coming to us, and if it's changing what we're sending to that's where we get into that gray area real quick.
Dennis mentioned in chat there, exploits are exploits. Brake tuning is not an exploit, as in pedal adjustment. Just to clarify, we're not talking about just adjustment here. We're talking about a physical device that actually gives you ABS that you would not have. So it senses that the game is locking up, and then ABS is your pedal. In like the Porsche Cup that doesn't have ABS for it.
Yeah. I need to get that brake. I'm not going to say I do know of it. The brake pedal I know of. I almost want to go get it and test it now.
So you won't be locked up in LMP2 races anymore.
Nothing will help me with the LMP2 car. You know what's going to help me with the LMP2 car? I do know. 2 weeks. It's over? 2 weeks. That's what's going to happen. Actually, 8 days. 8 days.
Right.
Yeah. And then it'll be one of the only things I'd ever say to an admin is, okay, no matter what, it will not be this car. That car is a cheat because it handicapped me. So, there you go.
We're all cheating. All right.
I sense a lot of hurt feelings in that comment, Shaun.
Well, so what does iRacing's cheat detection do? Because why do I still hear people cheating in iRacing if they have cheat detection?
So I was actually I was trying to do a bit of research on this just this morning. I was looking to like cheating, specifically cheating in iRacing. So I ran across an article from where they had an interview with Tony back in 2014. And so they've been using the anti-cheat software, and it's not just to ban people. They don't use it to ban people from iRacing. They use it to collect data from the people that are cheating in order to use it against them. And it's not necessarily that they ban the person from the first race that they catch them. They just sit there and will watch that guy for multiple races to see what he's doing, figure out what kind of software he's using, and compare it against all the other data they have and possibly other people they're using. So that way, when they do finally come out with a ban, they're banning, they're banning blocks of people that are using that software, and now they can actually create something and help the anti-cheat guys create something to stop that software from working in their sim.
That makes sense. But it means it's not effectively stopping anything.
No, it doesn't stop anything. Easy
No.
Anti just reads what's happening and tries to notify it when it's like, hey, something's happening in the code that shouldn't be happening right now. So if it's like, if you're doing something blatant, like it really messes with the code to the point where it's not sneaking by, right? Then anti-cheat just won't let you connect to the server. But if you've connected to the server, anti-cheat will be like, oh, this is a little fishy, and it'll keep an eye on.
Right.
So yeah, if they know about the codes, it'll block that person from logging in.
Big Race TV just said something. Sorry about it not being paid in chat. I wanted to catch that right away. It's not. It has nothing to do with being paid. Easy Anti-Cheat is like it's used by many titles. It's a broad tool.
Yeah.
So it's really a monitoring thing, but it knows what to look for.
It is, and because that's one of the things they talked about. Like iRacing could easily implement, hey, the minute we detect something fishy in the code, we can block people automatically. But then that doesn't help to figure out how to get ahead of the people who are using those cheats and figure out ways to stop future stuff from happening.
Okay, Rick brought up a great one. iRacing having a live tire app. Is that cheating?
There's a debate here because
the game does not allow it.
Yeah, I believe that it states somewhere on their website something about it too. Like if you're using the app, give you permissions that iRacing doesn't output. So if you're using telemetry that iRacing doesn't officially output, they say that you can't use it. But I've spoken with the Kutu dude, the guy that makes caps, and he has the tire data and says that they output it, and told me where it is and how he found it and explained it to me. Because I argued I didn't think he could even get it, and he actually showed up at some point and had a conversation with us to talk about it. And he said that they do in fact output it. So they're saying you can't take it if it's not outputted, and they're not outputting it in a clear way, but they are still outputting it. So is that still cheating? I'm not actually, to be honest, even sure. Another gray area.
Well, yeah, but see, this is the one defense we have for the garage room cheating exploit, right? Is that one thing. Will they let you, right? In the case of the tire monitoring, they don't at all. So if I have a cool display or a fourth monitor and I'm getting live tire data, it helps me from the minute of tuning, because the one problem with real life tuning is the way you bring a car to a screeching halt can affect your final readings of your tires, what corner you came off of. But being able to actively look is a huge advantage. The other thing is on tire wear. Does it give you tire wear as well? So when I'm out there in NASCAR not knowing if I'm going to get a blown tire. I haven't seen that, by the way. But if it's giving me temps, then why wouldn't I be able to get wear? I just haven't seen that. I might have it on my display and not even know I have it up there, by the way. I haven't looked at my stand dash. Does that show us wear?
No,
it doesn't. Yeah,
it shows it to you when you pit. iRacing, when you go into the pits, it outputs it. The time you're allowed to get it officially from iRacing.
I personally, Rick, because it involves a third party to accomplish, I consider that cheating. I mean, it might be itsy bitsy little teeny tiny cheating, but I would say, with where we've been on this conversation, that would fall into the category of cheating. I would. I use it, and I'm not going to turn it off, by the way. No, I'm a cheater. I'm a cheater! I really got to think about that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Spartan, and that's what we're talking about. So easy anti-cheat, yes, once it's been programmed into anti-cheat, like the coding for people to watch out for, yes, it will block people. But for stuff that hasn't been forwarded to them to update their code, it won't. It just monitors the traffic that's going through.
Oh, I'm stumped on this tire one, you guys.
So, well, I mean, so if it's in the code that you can read and it give it to you, like I know iRacing stance is we don't want people to have real life tire data, which I think is the dumbest thing in the whole entire world, because how can you actually have legitimate ways of setting up your car? Because all in real life, that's one of the biggest things in setting up your car is how do the tires warm up, how do they wear over the course of a lap, couple of laps, whatever. But we can't do that in iRacing. We can do it in every single sim, but we can't do it in iRacing. So I think that's a stupid move by it.
In iRacing, though, I think that's the argument. Is that if you're driving certain,
right, but you got to.
No. Yeah. I believe Porsche has live. Depending on which car you're in. Some of the cars do have live data. The LMP2, I believe, also has live. I'd have to double check. I'm not sure on the LMP2, but I believe it's the Porsche that does. I think the Corvette might, but some of them do have live. The ones that have live data, you are allowed to have the live data. But like people are using live data for a Mazda, right? You don't have live data on a Mazda.
Wait a minute. We have live data on our Chotus. Wait, even better. Totally. It sends the telemetry to our pit box, by the way, which Formula One couldn't do that till like 8 years ago or something, right? I mean, like that was forbidden even. You're not allowed to talk to the car.
I mean, like, what is it? Your TPMS in your road car nowadays sends data to your car. Like, hey, here's the air pressures in your car. Like, that's one of the things that infuriates me about iRacing is just the way they try to hide their tire data.
So Joe had said two things. One, he just said, in real life, what cars show you live tire wear in particular?
None.
We're talking about two different things.
Yeah,
wear
none.
Well, usually, like, that's the teams calculate their tire wear based off the pressures and the loads that are going onto that tire. They can get a good estimate, but not what the actual
but
full
that's
wear is.
People do in math, not
right.
I don't,
right.
but I don't know that you can get tire wear. I'm thinking of all the dashes I've seen, and I've never actually seen tire wear. Have you in iRacing?
Oh, in iRacing, no. Well, again, with caps, he can extrapolate it, but that's why I wanted to say
wear or temperature.
Where there's another thing here. So Joa said before that iRacing bad coding, not cheating, right? So they have the rule where you can't extrapolate type temps and wear.
It shouldn't be open.
But it isn't. But if you, it is open, but it's what do you call that when they obfuscate it? I can't remember. It's encrypted.
It's hidden, but someone found it.
He decrypted it and then takes it and then uses it, right?
That's
so
cheating.
That should be should be cheating line right there. If you're having to unencrypt something or decrypt, how the heck say that word? If you have to do that, then that's where the line.
Oh, I love the tire one. That's really... So what about crew chief? I mean, crew chief will estimate your gas, right? I mean, I fail on gas. David Clymer's lost races having to do extra pit stops. Someone with crew chief would be like, what's my fuel? Yeah, add 4. Right? I don't know. I haven't done that with crew chief. I just know it can do that stuff.
You have a handful of guys working on your car. Anything that's easy like that, like I think like fuel calculations, like, you know, and to a lesser extent, like Ameer was talking about the tire temps or the tire wears, how people were actually figuring it out via like, this is what our where we ran in practice. This is our temperature right now. This is how many corners we've hit. Our wear should be around this much. You should be able to get averages and stuff like that out of programs like Crew Chief. I think that's fine. Exact one-for-one data in that sense is starting to cross a line.
Vic, yeah, we've pretty much covered that anything that manipulates the game, we've really taken a pretty hard line stance. That's cheating. We've kind of moved into third party where it's the opposite direction now is what we're talking about.
Computer. Vic's just talking about overclocking your computer. He's talking about like overclocking your CPU.
Okay.
Is overclocking your system clocks. That's not cheating. No, that's just making yourself a better computer. That's fine. That's not.
Yeah. But I dare say it's not cheating. It's just a real shame for the guy who has an underperforming system because he is cheating himself. All right. Drugs.
A lot of people will that concentrating crap and go racing. I think that's BS.
So at the professional esport, which when I say professional in this term, iRacing doesn't qualify because even their highest levels kind of chump change. When you talk professional esport, we are now in the era of drug testing. So you go to this competition. I don't know the list of banned substances. I'm assuming they stole the list from, cycling or Olympics or somebody, which means it includes everything probably from, weed to Ritalin to steroids to everything. Is it cheating?
Yeah.
I'd say, yeah, if it's enhancing your performance unnaturally, then yeah.
There's going to be it's just like anything else. If it's medical, it's one thing. If you're using something that's not medically mandated for you, and you're doing a competition, then yes, it's cheating.
All right, so let's talk about weed then. If you're going to use the word medical.
So, for example, we did a Mazda thing recently. I didn't smoke before I did that. I'm a medical smoker, and I still didn't smoke before I went to go do that Mazda challenge. Because
I don't think weed's a performance-enhancing drug. It's sort of funny that it's on the list, but it is on the list. But that's what I'm getting at. But at the same time, I'm not trying to argue the medical part of weed. I'm not. Don't get me wrong here. But I'm just going to say there are a lot of people who are medical and they're not medical. But they can get that as easy as it's the easiest prescription there is to get if you're in a legal state. I don't know how other countries are on that one. But I want to go beyond that too. Because I see you drinking that Monster there. And I would argue that 2 of those are as strong or just as strong as most of the things that are on their banned substance list.
No.
But it's not on their list.
No, absolutely not.
No? What about caffeine?
I've never taken Ritalin.
I have not.
Actually modifies your mood. Like, you are way more focused. You are way more in control. Your heart rate won't get as crazy. Like when you're surrounded by cars, you start to get angsty, you get seeing red or whatever. That kind of stuff doesn't happen. Your body is very different. This kind of stuff, this is basically just sugar and like a couple of roots that make you energy. That's all it is. It's just energy. Then not focus. Energy is one thing. You want to drink a coffee, you want to whatever. That's completely different. But I do believe there are clauses in most of the esports now where you're not allowed to use like the 5-hour energy shots.
Yep. Right.
Those are right? Yes, I do believe that there. I know for sure in some, but at the top level esport, I believe that those are included now.
And pretty much are those Toreg and Quarantine or whatever they call the things that are in all the others?
Taurine and no, they have that.
It's so concentrated.
Yeah.
Right. Fascinating.
Yeah.
But caffeine? What about caffeine in mass amounts, no dose levels?
Same thing is that's part of what's in those 5-hour energy shots. It's like super concentrated amounts. It's one thing to drink a coffee. It's another thing to take a concentrated dose of caffeine that's going to give you 10 hours of energy in an hour.
Right. Now, do you think it's cheating if people are? I mean, is it? Well, you just kind of made the argument for, was that Ritalin that you were talking about? I've never.
Any of those kind of drugs. Like I have ADHD, and ADD, all those weird ones. So they give you all kinds of different things.
Okay, so I don't know, and now we're getting almost political on this, but how hard is it to get them to misdiagnose you so that you can get the? So from what I understand is, if you need Ritalin, it does not have those effects that you just named to that person. If you do not need Ritalin and you take it, you get all that. That was a huge benefits list when it comes to gaming in particular.
You tend to get more energy and more focused in a very obnoxious, not natural way if it's not for you. If it's for you, you get more focused, but you don't tend to get the energy.
Can you trick a doctor?
It depends on where you're from. So this is where I'm going to use weed because this is the better example for me. But we're in Canada, not necessarily. It took me 2 years, and I had to go clean off of cannabis and do all kinds of other drugs for my mental illnesses before they would let me use cannabis. Right? There's a whole process of this
for cannabis.
Just for cannabis. This isn't for things that are like they throw Ritalin at kids left, right, and center. Right? Yeah. So those things are easier to get. but it's in order to get like what's actually going to work for you takes forever, and they'll put you through all kinds of different things. Like it's a long process. It's
Right.
not all that.
So in the States, using cannabis as the example, I don't know. Again, I'd love to know what it takes to get on Ritalin. Not for me. I'm just for the purpose of the conversation.
Just
But
go to Dr. All Wiring.
yeah, you went to you go to a doctor and they like take your pulse, and then they're like, all right, here's your prescription. This was before it was recreational. So I mean, it was a joke process. Which is why I always laughed at the law in California. It's like, man, and now they got it right. Now they just let people smoke. It's like, cool, because it was a joke. But I knew people who needed it properly, right? And those people who really, really needed it. So it always made me mad that California treated that like such a joke. But again, that is, well, now, okay, so in the case of weed, now we're still on politics. It's on their list, and you're not protected by a diagnosis.
So I used the Mazda thing because we just did this a couple months ago. There was that Mazda whatever, you go set your qualifying time. There was a thing in there very specifically about drugs and alcohol and not using them. As a medical smoker, what I did is instead of, like I usually have a couple puffs every 2 hours or so, every hour or so I have a puff kind of deal, somewhere in that general range. I just didn't for that 2 hours. An hour beforehand, I stopped, I did my event, and then I had my puff afterwards, right? You don't want to be what they would consider high. Medicated and high are two different things. You come see me on a Friday in the afternoon, and it's two different people from what you're seeing right now, right? Like that's the line. Tony mentioned Adderall. And that's a good one. I know in the US it is easy to get Adderall. If you tell people you're having trouble focusing, you just be like, I'm having trouble focusing. I need to get through a couple hours a day at work. They'll throw you Adderall.
No, they give that away like candy at elementary school. Yeah.
So that one would be one that would be easy to get that people could use. That would be a good one to talk about.
But now if you took Adderall, so I don't know how the real sanctioning bodies work. I think I don't know, because you got to go back to like Lance Armstrong. Did they make exception to the rule because of Lance Armstrong being on chemotherapy? He obviously had some form of steroids and other things that I'm sure were on some form of banned list. Did he have to get clean? Did they make an exception? And then when I think to modern era of especially kids playing these gaming competitions, if you are prescribed it, do they allow it? Or is it a no Adderall, no Ritalin, no nothing, no matter what policy?
Adderall, I don't know about. I know like the Ritalins and stuff, they'll make allowances for, because there's a balanced amount, right? Like you only take certain amounts, and what it does, like when I was taking Concertas and Concentras and these kind of things when I was younger, it just made me more focused and level, right? It didn't make me specifically better or have more energy or anything like that. I was just focused. I was more of a level person, less up and down. So I think it really depends with those, but Adderall, all it really does is make you focus.
So, truck driver. So, if you're a truck driver, what do they ban? But they don't ban Adderall and Ritalin from those industries because their list is different than performance. Bucho, you're right. In our day, you didn't have kids for any of these drugs. You got the paddle. No BS. My mom had to go sign a thing saying you will not paddle my child, but it was like right in that era where the default was to paddle the child. So it took a hippie mom to go down there and actually sign the paperwork saying you shall not beat my child. Which, by the way, in my opinion, was a huge mistake. Boy, did they should have paddled me. I'm not saying that's the right answer for all children, but they should have paddled me. It would have gone a long way. All right. Because they didn't. And now, look, I'm a raging Adderall, Ritalin, addict, cheating sim racer with grip hacks and ABS hardware. It's amazing. And I still can't win an LMP2 race. All right, you guys, we are coming up on our hour mark. Any other? I mean, we've covered a lot of things here.
Yeah.
Is there anything that we didn't? I mean, we kind of tried to stay focused on sim racing as our point or topic here. I'm still stumped by the tire one though. I think Devin said it, and you just got to believe it in your own self. And if the car would allow it, and iRacing screwed up, maybe there's where the exception lies. But if it's a car that you know damn well you would never have tire temps, and you're running a Mazda MX-5, and they can't even make setup adjustments, let alone telemetry, yeah, you know, you're probably pushing it. Now, is there a huge advantage to getting your tire temps? Really, I think it's pretty nominal. And no one would argue. Oh, so is Motec cheating?
Motec's not cheating, but you brought up a good one. I completely forgot Mazda, dude.
With the what?
How do you shift a Mazda?
Oh, man. Are we going to call this? Okay, we're going over.
Right?
Yeah, shifting. Now, okay, so here's where I'd say on the shifting. This is where I have in the defense of everybody out there. A default sim setup does not even come with a shifter. Like 9 out of 10 scenarios where you go buy all your equipment, you get a wheel with paddle shifters, and maybe you get a clutch, sure, but there are race starts that would enable you to... So that's the one thing, is it's so, like, I would love... Here's what I'd love, Devin. I think you'd applaud this too. I would love to be one of the check boxes when setting up a room in iRacing to force H-pattern shifter. So you could have the first official H-pattern league where everyone is default to foot clutch H-pattern. Now, sure, there's always a cheat. I can use 4 buttons to accomplish a 4-speed shifter. But still, you still have to go through the motion. So if you want to cheat that league by doing that, I'm not sure it's a huge advantage. Actually, it would be a huge advantage.
Yes.
An H pattern can be misshifted. 4 buttons cannot. Or
Even on the H pattern, the reason why I wanted to bring up the Mazda, remember, the Mazda, you don't have to clutch.
Okay.
You don't have to clutch at all. You can, well, yeah, at least on the downshift, you just blip, right? But on the upshift, you blip.
I don't even blip. What are you talking about? I'm hammered down.
Yeah.
I'm hammered down. I love listening to the rev limiter. I love the surge sound as that high RPM pulls the car into the next gear.
But iRacing does give you the option to use whatever kind of type of shifting you want. So
yep. So I think
you can use anti-stall, anti-blip, all anti-clutch. I mean, I don't know if it's cheating or not.
As we've said during the show, it's an exploit. It's not cheating. It's an exploit. I think we're all like pretty much in agreement.
They give you the setting. It's right there, right?
Yeah.
Like that's one in particular where, like, if you're gonna drive the Mazda, you should be gassing, you should be clutching, you should be heel and toe, right? But really, you only need 2 feet. You can just clutch your upshift, you can just blip your downshift, and just even with an H pattern, regardless of what you're using. Excuse me, physically, you can cheat with the pedals.
But in the Mustang, you can't. The Mustang's not blip friendly. Right. I mean, you can. It works every once in a while, but for the most part, you got to clutch that car.
So broken on some cars and not broken in others. So that, I think, by definition, would make it an exploit, but definitely worth mentioning as part of the topic, because the Mazda is probably the biggest one where people do things different.
Rick, I'm the worst violator of auto blip. I admitted. Is it a cheat? Am I a cheater? You cheat. That's how I started this show. I owned it. I'm a cheater. All right, I got another one for you. I know we're getting there. We all, Ameer, you're not. Are you running the Rally League? Yeah.
No.
Yeah, he is. He just got Dirt Rally 2.0 yesterday. Welcome, Ameer.
I didn't.
We'll see you next week.
All right.
Just because I bought it doesn't mean.
So you're in a Rally League. And you can go to the little thing and hit event and be like, oh, that circuit. Let me go try it 100 times before. Is that
I
cheating?
think that's just prudent. No, I think that's just prudent. I'm just dumb for not practicing. If you want to be technical, if we were to stipulate that you had to remain in lobby, right, then you would only have those 10 shakedowns. It gives you 10 shakedowns. There is an actual structure for those races. If we were to stipulate you had to follow the structures, but we didn't make any rules, you want to go practice, go practice.
Got it. But it breaks the heart of the essence of rally racing, doesn't it?
Well, no, what it does is it gives me an excuse not to be winning, because if I don't practice, then I can come in 10th to 5th somewhere and still feel good about myself.
So the last event, this is a true story, and this had happened to me every time. unless I literally learned every single corner of the track, like turned it into my own private Nordschleife. Not just, because I find when I do multiple runs practicing that all I'm really looking for are the really problem areas. Like if I can just remember that one corner, because I always fly off the mountain, that'd be great, right? I'm not looking at every corner. But then I find that the more I practice, that the more aggressive I get when making my main run, and I actually make 10 times more severe mistakes. The latest rally I practiced, I probably did 10 practice runs, and then did my main run and had like crashed the car 3 times in the first 3 sectors. And so then I chose to do the second stage without any preview at all. But I was just like, I don't do well. But I as I was practicing 10 times, I thought, am I cheating?
But the guys in chat bring up a good point. Is the rally drivers do get the what?
Oh, no, they don't. They do not. They get like 1 or 2 runs. They get like 2 runs. They go like 30% speed. They write their pace notes. They go like 50 to 80% speed to confirm their pace notes. That's it. They do not get to run up and down these roads a million times unless you live in the area. Right? If you live in the area, that's one thing. Or if you've driven these roads a long time, you've been around the circuit for a long time, they've been using this stage for a long time, that kind of thing. But if you're talking like you want to talk 1-to-1, they essentially get those couple shakedowns. That's it.
Yeah.
We're only a couple weeks away from co-driver. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Co-driver.
Don't ask me to be your co-driver. I'll suck at it.
In WRC?
No, in Dirt Rally 2, right?
WRC 9 had it coming in. Dirt Rally 2
WRC, I'm sorry.
WRC 9's getting it.
Sorry.
Billy Strange for co-driver 2020. Let's go.
There you go.
All right, well, we almost got there, and then I changed the topic. We have covered a lot on the topic of cheating. Is there any stone we haven't turned over?
No, just there was a comment that Norman made a while ago that we never got a chance to talk about, because he's talking about Z1 telemetry and data and stuff. So no, I don't think that's cheating. So anything that's being outputted by the game to be used as telemetry, I don't think it's cheating.
Z1 can grab tires.
Right. Motec, all that stuff, that's something that aids a driver, but that's stuff that's being outputted by the game itself for a reason, so I don't think it's cheating.
Getting back to Joe's original point and kind of closing on what you said right there, this is actually one of those areas where it's sort of on iRacing. This is an exploit that they've left open. So, if your intention is to let Z1 Dash, Crew Chief, SimHub, name your third-party application to receive data that could be used to an advantage, either shut that door, better than an encryption if you need to, or open the door to the normal thing. I mean, there's no reason why my F5 screen can't give me live tire data, but it does not. But if others are getting it, then they should either, again, call it illegal, call it cheating. We need to say, it's not on us to define cheating, by the way. It's really on the sanctioning body to define cheating. It's their rule book, not ours.
Which I have to check, but I think iRacing in particular does.
iRacing does say that. They've stated it numerous times about real-life tire wear and data.
What do you mean?
If they don't output it clearly, if it's not in their output telemetry file, you're not technically allowed to use it. So that's why we were saying with tires,
I'm saying if it's being output and others are using it, then stop letting them have an exploit and open that parameter to within the regular sim, so that I don't need SimHub to have that telemetry.
I think everything but the tires is. I think that's the
one I'm
only
talking about. That's the one I'm talking about.
I think the only one is the tires.
But that's a perfect and great example. It was the one that stumped us on cheating.
And technically, iRacing does say that tires, technically they say you can't, but because you're decrypting the data, greater.
Yeah, and quite honestly, if Caps is able to get tire wear, wow, I'm sorry, that is cheating. If the only way to do it is to reverse a encrypted file somehow, I don't know how. In fact, I would argue that in the States, that is actually probably against the law. To reverse engineer an encrypted file. I'm assuming that is also covered in the end user agreement.
Oh yeah.
So
I think where the law comes in is like if you're using it for monetary gain.
well, no, it's breaking the law. It'll be prosecuted or sought for if you're actually like if I make myself a Ferrari T-shirt, they don't care. If I make 10 and sell them, they do.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. As long as it's not monetary gain, I think you're still.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that it was right or legal. I mean, Cafe Press wouldn't print it, because even if it's just one for me. No, I do think that if that's something that dashes are able to get and use, that iRacing either needs to stop that or open it up within the sim.
Yeah, and just let's be clear, because we've thrown around this caps thing, and I just noticed the last time we said it, we really leaned on him decrypting it. We don't know for sure how he's getting that data. Maybe it does come out. As far as I understand it, it's not open, and he has to do something to extrapolate it, but we don't actually know. So nobody's throwing shade at anybody. Nobody's trying to point fingers or anything. It's just, in our opinion, that is something that iRacing has said is not allowed, and it's
Right.
but he's doing it, not getting in trouble. So obviously has some sort of okayed it.
No, we misspoke. It wasn't caps. We were using a hypothetical. It was schnapps that we were talking about. and yeah, just to be clear, I'm sorry. Sometimes I have a problem with my accent, but it's schnapps. Yeah. All right. Awesome. Well, you know what's funny? I didn't think we'd make an hour on this one. I'm like, it's such
we only the topic.
It's such a slam dunk topic. Like, cheat, yes, no, wrong, yes, no. Okay. Move along. But I think we found a couple areas of gray that were at least fun to talk about. Yep. Right on. Well, I don't know. Do you guys? Do we have any ideas what our next topic is next month? Are we?
We could do the topic we were gonna do today, but I don't know if it'll fill an hour.
Yeah, I mean that's what it's probably. I don't think it's gonna take us long.
Really, do it for Dale.
Topic.
Yeah. Like we were going to mention Dale. Dale's now an executive over at iRacing. Is there a lot to say about that?
For the non-NASCAR fans, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is now an executive director at iRacing.
I want to know. So I've known Dale Jr. long before iRacing. All right, as a sim racer. I've met Dale in real life, but I mean I have known him as a sim racer for more like 18 years, longer than I've been doing any of the shows. Mm-hmm. He's as dedicated to sim racing as anybody I've ever met. There's no questioning his heart when it comes to sim racing. With that said, so they make him a job offer? Is this a ambassadorship fake title, kind of honorary title, not fake? No. Did he give John Henry some money and buy his way in?
So the report that came out, he's up until now, he's been helping them out behind the scenes in an unofficial capacity. But no, just was it last week or the week before, he was actually appointed an executive director at iRacing to be part of the management committee.
Yeah, he's on the board. He's
on the actual management board now. Yes.
That can only be good.
Yeah.
That's great. I mean, they already had such a great relationship with NASCAR, obviously. Mm-hmm. This will help that immensely.
Oh, yeah.
People have been turning left and doing it for Dale on the oval side of iRacing for so many years. Now they can really be authentic about it.
You know what? Yeah. But that's the thing about Earnhardt when it came to he always deserved it, because going long before iRacing, again, he's always been one of the guys helping push it. He's been one of the guys he's one of the originals when it comes to promoting his sim racing friends to much more prestigious jobs. Yeah. TJ Majors, everybody knows the name TJ Majors. He might be your spotter, right? That's how Dale met TJ. They were sim racing friends, and he said, "You should be my spotter." And TJ Majors is now known by a lot of people. He's a very famous spotter in the end. But that's where Dale's always been there for us on the sim racing level. Yep. And he's hosted big events. He's helped people out. It's great. It's really, really great. Dale's wife wanted him out of the house. No doubt, Joe. I have no doubt that's true. I mean, I think any man who retires and the wife would really like him to find a new hobby quickly.
Yeah, I mean, would we have gotten North Wilkesboro or Fayetteville if it wasn't for him? I don't
No,
know. I
no,
doubt it.
certainly not
Definitely.
Wilkesboro.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. So I think it's really good, and with him being him, it extends beyond NASCAR. It's Dale Earnhardt. This is the most famous driver on planet Earth, really. I think he's more famous as Hamilton, isn't he? He's Dale Earnhardt.
I don't know about that.
That's Dale Earnhardt, man. He is so famous in America, it makes up for what he doesn't get acknowledged internationally. No.
You said it. America.
Right.
America.
He's so famous here, though.
I mean, would Heiko have known who he was if we didn't ever mention him? I don't know.
I don't know. Internationals, please tell me, do you know who Dale Earnhardt is? I heard he's going to run for president. I'm just saying. I heard it.
Do it. Hope makes sim racing great again.
From NASCAR.
It's like, if you appoint me as president, every person, every household will get one sim racing machine.
Awesome. In America. That's
Thanks for everyone.
Yeah. All right. That's cheating. That is clearly cheating.
I hope he brings some really good things. I mean, my biggest thing, I hope like he can help get iRacing to that next level. I mean, iRacing, as great as a sim as it is, we all know it's got a lot of shortfalls and shortcomings that it needs to get over. So I'm hoping with him being on the management board, he can kind of help get along, move iRacing more further forward as other sims are starting to catch up to it.
And you know what else I heard? This is what I heard. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is just adamantly against cheating. I mean, oh man, it gets under his skin.
Well, I guess you're going to get banned since you use your paddle shifters in Mazdas.
There'll be no more of that. H pattern override. Here it comes. Here it comes.
I really hope he revamps the competition structure.
Yes.
I'm hoping for him.
Yeah.
So much experience in sim in real life that he could really do some proper input to a proper structured ladder, which would be nice.
That would be good.
Yeah, you and me, Devin, we were talking about that the other day about how we think the structure in iRacing is so convoluted. Like, they need to start building an actual ladder in road racing.
It's convoluted and too simple at the same time. Somehow they're both too complicated and not complicated enough. Like, it's iRacing. I don't know.
We could do a whole show on a iRacing makeover. It's just as you say that, I'm like, some graphical elements. You have this ladder, that ladder, this sequence of cars, challenges, trophies. Oh my God, how freaking hard is it? We are playing a game. We are still playing a game. All right. That is another day, another dollar. All right, we have covered cheating. I'm glad to hear. I'm convinced from your arguments that neither of you cheat. So I feel much better. Ameer, all the accusations, and I'm pretty sure that your answer to my moral code puts me at rest, that you are.
I mean, you've seen my race results lately have been the greatest.
You're like trying to let me beat you. You're like, here, please. I'd love to give you $5.
I know.
I hear you guys are racing for 30 this weekend?
No money on the LMP. I don't bet on the LMP.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm just like Shaun now. I'm ready for the LMP2s to be over with. I'm ready to move on to the GTs.
All right, and my final
last week.
All right, I'm going to give you both one chance. Final thought, and then we're going to bring this to a close. Final thought, Ameer. Anything on your mind?
No, just after this, guys, we have our ACC race gonna happen. The server already opened, so hopefully people are in there already practicing. I'm about to join up here in a little bit.
There you go.
And then our second to last race in LMP2 season.
Tomorrow.
It's tomorrow.
At
Barcelona.
Tomorrow.
Yay!
Right. Devin, anything on your mind? Anything at all before we bring this to an end?
I just posted a link in chat. We did the Simpit ARCA series last night. If you guys aren't running in the ACC race, go watch the ARCA race. Help support Simpit crew. It's one of those things that a bunch of us do to help out Shaun. We don't, like the guys that are uploading, we take nothing from that. Everything we do for the Simpit crew is actually for Shaun. So if you guys, we want to get as much support over there as possible. We are using that channel so as not to dilute the main channel. One of the comments that we've gotten a lot on the main channel is that people want to make sure that Shaun is the main channel guy. They have not been receptive to myself and Ameer and the other guys, so we've put it onto the Simpit crew channel.
It's a big team.
Other than
It's a
here,
team, you guys. It's a big team.
Bad, but other than that, we were good.
Okay.
So we have.
And here are my final thoughts. I have a confession. I switched to paddle shifters for the dirt rally run. Yep. I had done the first week. I did the first week in a sequential, and I thought that was cool. And then I switched to paddle shifter. I did use my handbrake, you know, for that one turn. But yep, I'm a cheater, so that's I
can't be friends with a cheater. I can't.
We weren't friends. All right. I love you, Ameer. All right, you guys.
Jason just got the charity race. Sorry, thank you.
Oh, thank you, Jason.
Yeah.
There's a big race tomorrow.
Mission 22. So
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's an important one. That like this. It's everybody knows Veterans Day was this week. You guys, it's a very important time, especially with the. We're not going to mention a lot of it, but the sickness stuff going on. Nobody's in a good spot. You know, we're doing a charity race 1 p.m. tomorrow. Information will be in the Discord. If you guys can come, we're not necessarily needing donations, but it's a big event for a very specific cause. Google Mission 22, well worth a look. Sorry, thank you.
There you go. Thank you, Jason. All right. Well, that's going to do it for this one. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. It was great. The chat from the audience was really good. Brought up some really relevant topics, things that made us kind of have to go, you know, you stumped me with the tires there. And certainly a lot of ways of looking at cheating, but I think the most important thing when you're accusing and pointing fingers out there, just keep in mind there is a big difference between an exploit and a cheat. Exploits are actually within the rules, so maybe they are just showing you the way to be better. Anyway, that's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much, Ameer. Thank you for joining me. Devin, thank you for joining me. I love these conversations and looking forward to the second Saturday of every month, 3 wide, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thanks for watching. Simpit Live, the Simpit, signing off. Have a great day, everybody.
Wow.